All right, everybody. This is Chris Garrison here with the Bigger Vision. We're doing it live streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and our Bigger Vision Facebook page. So I have got Randall Broyles here today. He is going to give us a great story. He'll tell us how he got into his real estate investing. He specifically is in storage facilities, which has been an extremely hot market the last several years. You've got the REITs, so the what would you call it? What would you call it, Randall? The big money.
Yeah, the REITs.
Yeah, the big money that's coming in and buying those up. So it's driving prices up. I know personally within the Facebook group, there's several of you guys that are in storage as well. So I think you'll pull a lot of great content from this. So I met Randall literally through networking on Facebook groups. It wasn't the Bigger Vision Facebook group. It was another real estate specific group. I believe it was multifamily, my first million in multifamily, wasn't it? Randall, I've lost you. You're froze. So maybe he'll come back in a second. So yeah, we met through there. Had a couple of conversations, phone call, some messages back and forth, and there you go. We lost you just for a second.
I was texting you. I lost you too.
Yeah. Okay. So I was just telling him I met you through another Facebook group that was real estate specific, and we connected, started following each other. I saw that he was in self-storage, and he's also even put a little bit of money with me as a private money lender on some of my real estate endeavors out of his self-directed IRA. So if you guys have self-directed IRAs and you want to get it into real estate, then you can do that. It allows you to. Randall, tell us just real quick what that looks like for those that have self-directed IRAs and did not know they could utilize it.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. Like Chris contacted me. Well, actually, he didn't really contact me. He posted on his Facebook group, hey, if you've got money sitting around and you want to put it in the deal, let me shoot me a detail. So I shot him a detail. The returns were pretty good. I had some money sitting in IRA. I called my custodian and said, hey, I want to put some money into this deal. She said, hey, send me a promissory note and, we'll take care of it from there. So Chris and his company typed up a promissory note and sent it to my custodian. And, next thing you know, I'm getting, monthly deposits from Chris that will, equal the returns that we discussed. So it's pretty easy.
That simple. So Don't let your money sit there and die. Cash is trash and inflation is killing it. So if it's not working for you, you're losing money. It's not safe just sitting there idle. So hopefully that was a nugget right there by itself. All right. So Randall, man, tell us what your background is. And after you give us a little bit of your background, tell us how you got started into real estate.
So, I am I do this. And so I'm in a mastermind, the $1 billion boardroom with Javier. So my introduction is I'm a retired contract killer for the government. And then I pause. I wait for everybody's reaction. But no, I'm retired military, retired first sergeant out of the Army. I spent 20 years, 9 days. But I figured it was time for me to spend a little bit more time with my family. Because I've gone 2 tours of Iraq, 2 tours of Afghanistan, 2 tours of Korea, training and PC and interstate training in between those deployments took a lot of time away from my family. So I even turned down a promotion to sergeant major to get out and chase my dreams in real estate. So a little bit about how I got started. Yeah. So it's a little bit emotional. So I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. My dad ended up with brain cancer. And, in the state of Florida, for some reason, they would not give him Social Security disability. And he was still going out to work. And, in the Florida heat, when he would go out, his brain would swell. He would get loopy. He wouldn't know where he was at. So I moved him and my mom up to North Carolina and bought a $2,800 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single wide trailer. that they lived in for a little while. My dad passed away in March of 2011. And my mom looked at me and said, Randy, I can't live here anymore. And I was on deployment orders. My wife, she's probably about 5'1". My mom's 6'2", at the time was, 600 pounds. So I couldn't put that liability on my wife if, my mom was to fall or, and we live in a 2-story house. So I was like, hey, Mom, we have some options for you. There's some assisted living areas, pretty nice. She's like, yeah, I just can't stay here. And I said, okay. So we moved her into an assisted living, and I turned that 2-bedroom, 1-bath into a rental, and I was getting $450 a month off of it.
God,
And then it grew from there.
$2,800 investment.
$2,800 investment. My parents lived there for a year and a half. And then I rented it, and then it grew from there. I ended up with 3 long-term rentals here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a mobile home park, and now I'm into my niche of self-storage.
So let me back you up just for a second. How did you find your mobile home park?
So my mobile home park came from my father-in-law's cousin. He bought it at an auction, and was just letting it sit there as a tax write-off. So I called him and said, hey, man, you want to sell your trailer park? We negotiated, and I ended up buying a 10-pad mobile home park for $48,000.
I love it.
It had one tenant on there, but I've renovated all the trailers, and now I have 2 tenant-owned mobile homes and 3 park-owned mobile homes, which I'm trying to sell to get the tenant-owned.
Okay, I was about to ask you because within the real estate groups, when you talk to mobile home park owners, you either got some that say I love to own the trailers, or I love to just own the pads. The majority say I just want the pads.
Yeah, I just want the pads, because these are older mobile homes, right? So there's a lot of headaches, repairs and things like that. But if you go in, you fix them, and then you sell them for $12,000 to $13,000 to $14,000, you get your money back, and then then the tenant pays you $225 a month for lot rent, and the only thing you're responsible for is anything from the ground down. So if the water breaks, I'm on city water and city sewer, which is good.
Wow.
So if the water line breaks underneath the ground, I have it repaired, but anything above the ground, the tenant repairs.
So are you owner financing, or are they bringing their own financing to purchase these trailers?
I will owner finance. Like, it's perfect time. It's tax time. So I get a lot of people that are living there now. I had a lady ask me the other day. She said, hey, how much you want for this? I was like, well, I'll take $10,000 for it. She's like, you want owner financing? Yeah, give me $5,000 up front, non-refundable. So you walk away, I keep the $5,000, and I turn around and do it all over again.
So do you structure it like a lease purchase option? So you have a lease, and then you got an option to purchase.
Nope, I do it for sale by owner. Because when they give me, I don't want the lease, because if I do the lease option, then that's non-refundable. But then at the time when I get ready to sell it, I give it to them. I do for sale by owner. Like, you give me $5,000 up front, right? Then you pay a certain amount of months. Once that is done, then you own the trailer. You get the title then. But if you walk away anytime between that trailer's paid off, it comes back to me.
You forfeit all the money you paid. Yeah,
absolutely.
Makes sense. Love it. All right. So let's move over to your first purchase on your storage facility. How did you find it?
Driving for dollars.
All right. Explain what driving for dollars is.
All right. So driving for dollars. Well, I really wasn't driving for dollars. It just happened to be. That's just an easy expression. So really, I was driving to a courthouse to evict a tenant. And I drove by this facility. It was run down. I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. When I come back, I'm going to pull in. I'm going to call the number, and I'm going to see what happens. So I went to the courthouse. I filed for the eviction, came back through, pulled in, called the number on the sign, and the guy answered. It was Memorial Day weekend of 21, right? I had just got to Fayetteville. We just moved back to Fayetteville in April. So I was there a month. And then, called the number, talked to the guy. I said, hey, your place looks beat up, man. What's going on? He was like, oh, hey, I'm in the military, so I don't like to beat around the bush. What comes to my mind is what I say. And he was like, well, I've got a bad back. Me and my partner split up. Like, he works for the county and owns a farm and he's not helping me out. And I said, okay, man, well, look, I like to solve people's problems. You want to sell? Oh, man, I don't know. He said, let me think about it over the weekend. So Monday came and I called him. Yeah, man, I'll sell. I said, all right, well, what are you thinking? Oh, 160. I was like, nah. I said, what's your occupancy? He's like, I don't know. I said, well, who do you get monthly payments from? He's like, probably 7 people. So that averages out to about 35% or so. Excuse me. So he had 35% occupied. And we went back and forth a little bit. At one point in time, I got it down to $112,000. Right. But I needed to close quick.
Yeah.
No commercial, no local branch could close, in 3 weeks. So I had to go hard money. Unfortunately, it's way too expensive for hard money lenders to go through the heartache and pain for such, little bit of profit. Right. So I ended up having to.
Let me stop you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to capture something. How did you know this was a good deal? Like, how did you know it wasn't a good deal when he threw out that one number? And so how are you looking at this saying this is a good purchase and this will make me money?
Yeah. So when I drove up first, it's 40 units, sits on 2.25 acres, already fenced in, already had an operating gate, had room to expand. So at I could not even build and buy the land for $125,000. Currently, right now, I'm building one building. It's a 20 by 100, and it's costing me $54,000 turnkey. He's got 2 of those on there, plus 2 acres of land.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a great deal.
So
right?
you didn't count the units and know what the rent you could get and do all that underwriting process?
Nope. So quick analysis. I took the net rentable square feet, divided it by the purchase price, which gave me a $31.75 price, including the land. I'm building a brand new unit for $27 a square foot.
Wow.
So I got a good deal.
Wow.
It's now worth $260,000.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. All right. I just wanted to capture how you knew you was a good deal or a bad deal. All right. Now you got to get this bad boy funded so you can actually close quick. So go ahead.
Yes. So hard money lender, man, are they expensive? Right. I got a lien on a house. We ended up having to put $30,000 down. So 12% interest only payments for 18 months. I'm paying $1,150 a month. Right. But at the end of the day, I'm bringing in $2,600 right now. That's off the lot that got some parking spots on, tenant protection, admin fees, late fees, little bit of fees that add up at the end of the year. Helps with the cash flow. And that's a good thing about self-storage, is because you have all these little fees that you don't have in single family or in apartment complexes that you can, get into self-storage.
Yeah. So we use self-storage, climate controlled, for my disaster cleanup business when we have to move a customer out. And so the admin fee for that I've experienced is when I first get these rent the storage unit for the first time, for them to log me into the system. There's a fee there. I don't remember what it was. Then they also bring in insurance. Are you offering insurance as well?
Absolutely. It's mandatory for my clients to have tenant protection. We call it tenant protection.
Gotcha.
And it's $9 a month, and I get half of that. I get 50% of that of revenue.
Okay. So you brought in a third party and all right. And so that's one thing. And then obviously the late fees. I've not had to pay any late fees. I stick a card on, but we all know that there are those out there that pay those late fees.
Yeah. I would love you as a tenant, because it's awesome when you get those recurring billing, right? So you wake up on the first at 6:30 to get ready to go to the gym, and you look at your email, and it's like payment.
So talk to me about the lending more. You said a local bank couldn't close that quick. You got the hard money for 18 months, you said?
18 months interest only.
Why 18 months did you do the hard money?
Because that's kind of the max that they would go
Uh-huh.
on this deal. At first, they kind of didn't like the deal because the BPO, which is a broker's price opinion, just brought in a commercial broker, and he pulled into the driveway, took some pictures, came back and was like, "Oh yeah, this would be worth 180K when it's done," right?
Mhm.
Which it's like a pro forma, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean anything. So, but they like, "Hey, we'll do it for 18 months." I said, "Okay, it won't take me 18 months. Matter of fact, it took me 90 days really to get stable."
We're losing you just a little bit. Albin, I'll ask him if he can see this question when he pops back in. So y'all give me questions that as we're moving through here, and I'll make sure we stop and get these questions answered so that this can give you as much value as possible. Randall is definitely a champion when it comes to these storage facilities, and he's been doing it for a while. So come on, Randall, we're dependent on you. Well, we lost him totally. Well, guys, I don't have self-storage, so I'm not going to be able to tell you about self-storage. So we're going to wait for him to pop back in. What I can do while we're waiting for him to come back in, though, is here we go. Let me get him back in the room. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I was just telling him, look, the show's going to be boring without you. Albin asked, which company do you use for your tenant insurance?
So the project management software that I use, Easy Storage Solution, they have a package that includes tenant protection. So I use the same software system that I use to manage my storage already comes with tenant protection. So it's one-stop shop.
What was that software again?
Easy Storage Solution.
Okay. All right. Do they also put it up when you have vacancies that there's availability and put it on a marketplace type site?
No. So they give you a website, and as tenants move out, they kind of update the website. So you can go to my website, Military First Self Storage, kind of rent a unit online, see what's available, see if there's a waiting list. Like, it's completely hands off for me, really, at the end of the day.
Gotcha. Okay, so back to this financing. You said the hard money was 18 months. That's just the max they would go out. Did you foresee any issues with being able to get community bank financing with such low occupancy?
No, because I knew I'm a hard worker, and I was dedicated to get this facility up and running. And like I was said before, I don't know if you heard me before I lost. It took me 90 days to stabilize, which means I was up above 90% occupancy. And I started cash out refinancing. Found a bank that would do it, when, we're just waiting on the clear to close right now. And, next week we should have about 70 grand in the bank.
Nice. So you paid your hard money lender back early.
Yep, I sure will.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. So, so you kind of answered this question. I was going to ask you, how you underwrote it on a spreadsheet style, but it really wasn't that. You go for the square footage, more of an underwriting style is what I'm understanding. So if you can go ahead.
On that deal, I did, because it was so low,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I knew that I could not build and buy the land for that cheap. But as we get, deals under contract, I do have an underwriting model that I do use. And I do, pull market analysis from the local area within 5 miles. It's super easy. You can use Radius Plus. It's a little website that, is focused on self-storage. Or you can go to Google Drive is what we like to call it. Like, you go, self-storage near me, and you click on all of the self-storage facilities in your area and kind of click on their website or call them, say, hey, I'm looking to move into the area. I'm looking at, I don't know exactly, what size apartment I'm going to buy. I'm looking for a 10 by 20, what is your prices? And, just kind of be a secret shopper and then average out your prices. And that's kind of what your street rate is or market rate.
Love it. So what are your successful strategies for stabilizing underperforming facilities?
Systems and processes, right? Hard work, dedication, and you got to have systems and processes in place. For one thing, you got to look at a self-storage facility as an extension to one's home, right? Chris, you're not going to leave your house with your wife and kids and leave everything unlocked. You're not going to leave your wife and kid in a dark house. So when you look at a underperforming self-storage facility, look at security, right? Does the gate work? Is there an access system? Is there cameras? Is it well lit? Right? If those are not happening, make that happen, right? Advertise, show people that you're putting in the work and the effort to clean up the facility. Put under new management signs, put available units out there and feather flags, let people know, light it up like a football field, and then people will come.
So is that all the marketing that you pretty much do, is just those drive-by customers with your signage and whatnot?
Absolutely. I do, like, if I have a 10 by 10 unit that's, vacant for 2 weeks, I do put it on the marketplace. But other than that, that's kind of all the marketing I do. Like, I don't have billboards, but in self-storage, most of your customers are going to come from a 3 to 5 mile radius anyway.
Right.
So they're going to drive by your facility every day. Like, I had a tenant. I have a tenant now. He's like, man, I drove past this place every day in the morning and at night, and I didn't know it was there.
Wow.
It was dark. It was dreary. It looked like a junkyard, right? But I went in, cleaned it up, lit it up, and he moved in. And he pays $115 a month.
So when you walk these properties, what are you seeing out of all of your purchases, typical capital improvements that you have to make to these properties that you've purchased before you can get them up into a stabilized unit that's worth something to the bank?
Mowing the grass.
Really?
For real. Like, mowing the grass, like some of like the one I'm looking at next week, it's already got a perimeter fence, right? It's got 8,700 net rentable square feet. He's just not running it like a self-storage facility. He's an old retired colonel out of the Army. He's letting his church folks stay there for free. So he's not monetizing this. He's not monetizing it. B, he doesn't have any systems and processes in place, right? So we're going to go in there. We're going to mow the grass. We're going to check it out at night, see how it's lit up, right? Maybe put in some perimeter lights, if need be, and, clean it up and put people on leases and, start charging them.
So is it that simple, your systems and processes?
Mm-hmm. It really is. Like this, I can run a facility remotely.
Yeah.
You put a sign on the front of the gate that tells people where to go, how to rent, you have a maintenance man that goes and mows the grass, and you probably pay him $250, $260 a month to go there and overlock and remove locks if need be. And, you might check on it once a month.
So talk to me about the lock system. I've heard some different ideas on how they utilize that. How is your storage facility set up with locks?
So for my storage facility, this one here is 7 minutes down the road for me. So when I go and, turn over a unit, I clean it out. I put a new lock in there, and then I put the door down and I close it. Right. So when the new tenant comes in, he already has a new lock in there that I provide for him. And the way that I kind of, sell them on the tenant protection is say, hey, I'm giving you a free lock. It's a disc lock. It will save you $200 if anything was to happen to your storage facility, but I require you to have tenant protection, right? That's $9 a month. And most people won't complain. I've had a couple people like, oh, well, I have homeowners insurance that covers it. And I said, okay, well, provide me with the declaration. Losing you, Chris. Oh man, this ain't gonna be good if Chris ain't here. He's asking all the questions.
Let's see.
Hey, there you go.
Man, you know what? This must be a good show because we're having all kind of technical issues, but we're gonna push through it. There's a ton of value. Good deal. All right, so you had the locks. You sell your tenant protection by providing the lock. That means you've got an extra key so that you can get in if you need to.
Nope.
No.
That's their lock.
Okay.
Their lock, their key. I don't get it back. I go to the supply company and order more.
So your empty units are going to sit unlocked with a lock supplied for them inside. They get online and they call the 800 number, or they get online and log into the website. They process their card to purchase. They put in the unit number that they're purchasing. And then at that point, they utilize your lock. If this wasn't 7 minutes down the road, do they have any interaction with you on the phone?
Yeah, so my number is on the website. It is on the signs. It is on Google Business. So when they call that number, they deal directly with me.
Okay.
And I guide them through the process if they need it.
How many units do you have total right now?
So right now I have 40 units. I have 11 parking spots, and I am in the process of building another 16 units. Well, 18. Sorry.
So how many locations equals the 40? Is that the one location?
That's just one location right now. I have 2 more locations under contract. I have one in Lexington, South Carolina. That one's currently 2,200 net rentable square feet. We just got a site designed to add 4,000 net rentable square feet, which will take us to 6,200 net rentable square feet. And then I got another facility that, we're about 60 days out from closing. That's in Greenwood, South Carolina. That's 8,700 net rentable square feet on roughly 2.5 acres of land. Currently in site planning design with our architect right now. Hopefully we'll be able to get that one up to 20 to 30,000 net rentable square feet.
So explain to me what net rentable square feet is.
So if you go in and you rent a 10 by 10, that's 100 square feet. So that building is net rentable square footage is 100. So that's just your rentable space.
Gotcha. So if I had an acre of land, do you know how they factor how much rentable square feet I would be able to have on an acre?
Yeah. So if you have an acre of land, the average is 12 to 15,000 net rentable square feet per acre of land.
Okay. All right. So we've moved through pretty much safety is the safety and mowing the yard is the biggest thing that you see. What about the roofs, the leaks? What happens when a roof leaks on a tenant and the tenant says, my stuff's damaged and I had over $10,000 worth of damage in there? Talk to me about that.
Well, in the lease, it says owner is not responsible for storage. You're storing your goods at your own risk. I am not reliable or responsible for any damage to your property.
Love it. So you let them know up front.
It's in the lease and they sign it.
Yeah, that's why we have leases.
But I do right. I'm not that much of a butthole, right? So I will work with them. I actually haven't had that issue yet, but if I do, hey, let's move you into another unit. Right. Let's provide you some tarps, I'll let you rent, this unit. I'll help you move. I'll provide my trailer, my truck, whatever I need to make that tenant happy. Because again, this kind of is a customer based business, right? So you want your customers to go to their next door neighbor and be like, oh man, I rent for this guy and he's awesome. Right. We had a leak and, this is what he did and, helped me out and he moved me. Right. So.
Gotcha. All right. So explain to me about the leak situation. If I know you did a live and you were talking about the springs on the door. So my first thought is, if I was buying a storage unit, how do I know that I have something that's not going to cost me a bunch of repair on the actual units themselves? Yes, I understand security and lighting and mowing, but the real cost is going to come in if I have to replace a roof system, if my bay doors are all jacked up. So what are you looking for there? How can somebody just getting started identify when there's problems?
Well, there's two types of roof, right? There's a seamless seal roof, right, which only gets bolted down on the outer perimeter. So it's kind of one roof. And then there's, kind of like your regular old metal roof that overlaps, right? So it'd be super easy. Hey, if I got a leak in this roof, right, I move all of this stuff up to this roof. I get a new piece of roof, I rebolt it back down, and I put new bolts into it, right? Most of you,
We're losing you, brother. Y'all throw me some more questions up there while we're waiting for Randall to stop giving us his mugshot. And let me know what else y'all want to hear about. We're doing these weekly lives. So if you've got content that you want to know more about, I probably have somebody in my network that I can get on and we can listen to their expertise and get some of these questions answered. So y'all don't forget the guys that are local, everybody that's local. We do have our in-person meetup tonight. It's going to be at Bulldog Burgers in Tupelo, Mississippi, 5:30 to 7:30. I'm actually going to deep dive in to some of the real estate single family deals that I've done here locally just as of late. All right. Randall is back.
a little better.
Boom. All right. You're back. Good deal. All right. So I've got another question. Albin's got some storage units, so she's definitely in the trenches and she's got good questions. She was asking me about a content question. So she said, hard money lenders, how to find them, what are the typical terms? So you want to give us what your experience is with hard money lenders, Randall?
Yeah. So hard money lenders, right? There's a couple ways you can go about it, right? One, you can go online, right? And you can kind of put your story out there in all these real estate groups that says, hey, I have this under contract. I need to close quick. I'm looking for this, right? But you have to pick your poison, right? Because you're going to get a lot of scammers that way that are going to be like, oh yeah, right? Don't pay no upfront fees, right? You do not pay any upfront fees, only pay at closing, right?
Yes.
So you'll be like, oh, give me $5,000 up front. We need to run your credit. Nope. No, thank you. Ain't happening. There is a lot of, so the way I found my hard money lender was a referral from somebody that has been used before. They were a hard money broker and they found this person and they were out of Massachusetts. So this hard money lender was out of Massachusetts lending in North Carolina. So that's how I found them. So just when you look for hard money lenders, just be careful. No upfront fees, right? Don't pay any money out of pocket, right? You're going to pay some points, but only pay for it at closing.
Right. So explain. I know when I first got started, somebody said, yes, 10% interest and 1.5. And I was like, what the heck is a 1.5 mean? So what does a point mean when they say that?
Point is 1% of the loan.
Okay.
Right.
Of
So
the
if you
total
pay,
gross
if
amount.
you pay 1 point, you're paying, for me, it was what, $1,250 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So 12, let's say you said you had 12% interest. So 12% interest, that's the annualized number. So over 12 months, they will collect 12% of the money they loaned in profit. And then they also collect the 1.1%, whether you have it for 12 months or whether you have it for 1 month. That's why it's a point, because it's not an annualized percentage.
Yeah, and make sure, you know, when you're dealing with hard money lenders, make sure, you know, you ask, hey, is there a prepayment penalty, right? Because this hard money lender, there was a prepayment penalty. I had to maintain the loan for 6 months, or I owed them 6,000 and some change, right? So I owed them 6% pretty much
Yeah.
is of the loan.
Yeah. What about origination fees or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I had to pay for everything, you know, and that was
Yeah.
kind of origination fee was like $9,600. I ended up paying, you know, 3 points, and then the hard money lender got a point and a half. The broker got a point and a half, you know, so that's why I say hard money is very expensive. So if you go the hard money route, just make sure that it is written into your expenses.
Right. Right. So how quick did you close with your hard money on that deal?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. So
Yep.
my experience with the hard money lender, I used a rehab wallet on the motels that I did with a partner in Iowa, and one of them was a hard money close, and that did you lose me?
Nope.
Okay, and that was literally if we had not had a mix up with the closing attorney, that would have been a 4-day close. We sent them the information. They did their checkpoints on the asset to make sure, because they lend based off the asset. That's one thing to note about hard money lenders is they do lend off the asset, not off of the person. So you're not sending personal financial statements and all of that stuff. At least that's what my experience was. It was, what is this asset? Is this okay? If you default, do we still have something that we can get our money back from? Is it a low enough loan to value point?
Absolutely. They got to make sure that they have enough meat on the bone that after you know, if knock on wood, um, you were to default, that they could still, you know, get their money back that they put into the deal, plus a little bit extra.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the out of state stuff. So you said you had some others that were not in your local market that you've got contracts on. How did you find those?
So one wholesaler brought it to me, and then another guy out of a real estate group that me and you both know very well. He brought me the deal. He said, "Hey man, I had this deal. He's trying to get it closed. He didn't have any experience with self storage, and you know he knows that I'm in the self storage game. He said, "Hey, let's partner on this. Teach me the ropes, and you know let's scale." And I said, "Okay." You know, I went and looked at the asset. It's got, you know, it's got good bones. It's got a perimeter fence. It's already got some units that are paying. So we've got about $9,600. Well, no, sorry, $960 a month coming in um, off of these, you know, 16 units. But like I said, we just got our site design back to add 27 more units. So we'll be at, you know, 6,200 net rentable square feet, hopefully by this time next year.
And how far is that facility from you
3
physically?
hours,
All right. How far is it from your partner?
2 hours.
Okay. And can you disclose kind of how y'all structure is, since we haven't named anybody? Can you disclose your structure of how that partnership looks?
Yep. So we are bringing on a kind of like a debt partner. So they're bringing the down payment. We're giving them 8% pref. We're giving them 20% equity. And then, you know, they're kind of hands off, kind of like a LP.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and my other partner will get 40%, but we'll, you know, we'll take care of the day-to-day operations, you know, the K1s, the taxes, the expenses, um, running the site, you know, things like that.
How did y'all have y'all set clear guidelines between you and the other active partner on what those roles are going to be, or are you just kind of filling it out as you go?
So we have not sat down with a operating agreement yet to kind of find out who's doing what. But that conversation will come as we get closer.
Gotcha. So have you done you've done your due diligence on it so far? And so what did your due diligence look like when you did the site visit?
So, you know, all of the units are rented, so we couldn't open up any doors. So we went out there, we checked the facility, we walked it, you know, we looked at the land, Make sure it wasn't mushy. It had just rained and it was raining, so we didn't want, a marshland. We checked the facilities out. The external of the facilities look really good. All the locks and the hasp looks really good. Was not able to check the springs because they were all occupied. So things like that. The only thing that I didn't do, because I did a turn and burn, woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, drove 3 hours there, walked the facility, turned around and drove 3 hours back, and still made it home for dinner. I did not check out the facility at night, right, to see how the lighting was. They did have some perimeter lighting there, but I don't know how bright it was.
What about financials? Do you ever look at any of the financials?
Yep. So we did get the Schedule E on 2019 and 2020. I get P&L. So if they got them, they got them. And we get them, so in 2019, it profited $3,000. In 2020, it profited $3,000.
Gotcha. How do you check the springs on the doors to make sure that they're functioning?
So, that's a good question. So when you open up a door at a self-storage facility, it's supposed to be real tight, like a cigarette, right? So if you open up the door and it blows up, like a cinnamon roll, like real big, fat, looks really good and scrumptious, that's one of those springs is probably broke. So you can always go in, shut the door down, lock yourself inside with a flashlight, and grab a hold of the spring in the upper corners, and probably pull them back and forth. They're probably busted. But they're super easy to fix. There's some YouTube videos. I called somebody the other day. I was like, "Hey man, I need you a price on a spring." He was like, "Oh yeah, man, we can get it fixed for $250." Okay. I went out there. I bought the springs from a distributor. Went out there 20 minutes later, fixed, 3 doors.
Wow. So how many months rent would it take you to cover that $250 expense?
On a 5x10 at $250, that's 8 months.
Woo. Yeah. So,
but that's just off of that one unit. So it would take 8 months of rent off that one unit to cover that spring replacement.
Right. So it's a pretty important thing to make sure those are good before you buy, if you plan on buying at a state where you're not going to be there fixing the springs yourself. So what does your expense ratio look like? I know it's self-managed, so it's going to be cheaper. What on the unit that's next to you that you currently own, what is that expense ratio at right now?
So right now I'm averaging about 35%.
Gotcha.
As things get easier and if things get repaired and things get fixed, I could probably pull that down between 25 and 30%. But right now we're averaging about 35%.
Is that valuing your time at all?
No.
Okay. Gotcha.
Nope.
So what do you think stabilized units, and you might have just told me in that answer, but what do you think stabilized units expense ratios should be?
If you're remotely renting it where you don't have a person on the payroll, everything is done online, you're anywhere between 25 and 30%. If you're in a super lucrative area, you can probably get it down to 20%.
Gotcha. When you buy, let's say that you buy this new unit with the partner, and they're not working or running the same software that you guys currently use, your CRM system. How do you plan on transferring those customers over to your system?
So we would send out, once we get, account information, username, address, we'll kind of send out a letter saying, hey, thanks for renting from, I think this facility is called CBD. I don't understand. It really is, right? It's CBD self-storage. And don't ask me, maybe it's his kid's name. But hey, thanks for renting from CBD self-storage. We are the new owners. We are now going to take over management. We are using Easy Storage Solution. Please here's the website. Here's your username. please log in. Here's your temporary password. Please log in, sign the lease agreement. Rent increases are X, Y, and Z. And then, they don't get access to the facility until they sign the lease agreement.
Wow. Okay. So they can't get in the gate. Does the gate have a code on the gate?
Yes.
Okay. What questions am I missing? We've gone over your systems. We've gone over how you find the deal. Tell us a little more about how to find deals outside of driving for dollars or having someone bring it through you through the networking.
Yeah. So it's super easy, right? I like to do what's called Google driving. So I go in on Google and I type in self-storage near me, and I pull them up and I call the numbers, have a conversation with them. Or if I find myself passing a self-storage facility, I'll pull in, talk to them. Matter of fact, there's one down the road, funny story. It's an old man. He owns a farm. He's got like 6 buildings on it. So I pulled in, went in and talked to him, just had conversation, right? And I was like, hey man, what are you doing with these self-storage buildings? Oh, I don't do anything with them. I bought them for my wife. My wife's not doing anything with them. Like, I don't even think she knows where any of the statements are, or the leases or anything. I was like, well, are you interested in selling them? He said, man, I'm old. He said, I don't sell land. I said, well, do you want to get rid of the buildings? I never thought of that. I said, yeah, man, don't worry about it. I'll come in, I'll get somebody to come in and, all the tenants that are up to date, I'll move them down to my facility, right? All the tenants that are behind, if you don't have any traction on them, we'll send out, a lien letter. We'll clean out the units. We'll get dumpsters. We'll clean it all out. And then you can have your land and I keep the buildings. He's like, you would do all that? I said, yeah. And I says, but I'm not doing it for free. He says, what are you going to charge me? I said, just give me the buildings. He said, huh?
What?
Yeah. He said, huh? But, long story short, push come to shove, he was very interested in that deal. But he has a daughter. And he told his daughter, that if she would straighten up, he would give her that facility. So he's got to keep his word. But he was willing to do that. And his son,
so when you ask for the buildings, are you talking about breaking them down and taking all of the metal and moving it over and laying a pad out and erecting the metal again on your land?
Absolutely.
Wow. So you would have got tenants, paid for tenants, and man, I love that.
And right now, a 20 by 100, just the materials is $36,000.
Yeah. Wow.
So I would have got, he has 6 of them. So
yeah,
I would have got $180,000 worth of self-storage buildings.
Here's what I love about real estate is the creativity that can be brought to it. I mean, you have really laid out the fact that it's not a complicated deal to get started. I mean, you can have a W-2 job over here. You can sit there at night on Google and research what's in your area and then make the phone calls and see if they're interested in selling. If they don't want to sell, you can even get creative on the flip side of figuring out what they might be willing to do. You heard that guy just didn't care about managing it at all. So you came up with a solution that was going to bring you customers and bring you new facilities at an extremely discounted rate. And you was getting paid for the efforts. I just want to make sure that everybody viewing understands your limited mindset is the only thing that's keeping you from entering into real estate. Because we're talking about real estate, we'll just stick it with real estate, but really anything. We just limit ourselves because we make it seem so complicated and we never make the jump. We never take any action. And honestly, the only action you've got to take is just make some phone calls. You might burn through several of them screwing it up because you didn't know how to do it. But after you talk to a few folks, you're going to hear some what I'll call rhythm, some consistency in what they're saying. And then the next phone call, you'll be a little better. Then the next phone call, you'll be a little better. And then you can plug into these communities. They're all over the place. You get into just sit there in the search bar of Facebook and say self-storage, say apartments, multifamily, single family rental, whatever, you're going to pop into a group and you can sit there and for free get an education. And then you can start taking action on that education. We overcomplicate stuff so much. And it's not that complicated.
And you know what Chris was saying, right? Education. If you're very interested in self-storage facility, I have a networking meetup.
Yes.
Every Wednesday at 11 to 12 Eastern Standard Time. You know, you can find me on Facebook, Randall Broyles. You know, drop me a DM. I'll send you the Zoom link. We just get there. We have, you know, a 10 or 15-minute conversation about self-storage, and then, you know, we network and we grow. And, you know, those are the time to ask questions. There's people in there that are developing. There's people in there that are brand new, that are just learning the business. There's, you know, so get in there.
What's your Facebook group? Is it just from your personal page, or do you have a group that you're doing that in?
So I have a group, Military First Investment Group. That's a group as well as a page. And then I have my personal page that I kind of broadcast as well.
Awesome. So I've been asking all the guests this. First of all, thank you for the valuable information. I feel like we really did bring it down so that everybody feels like they could jump into this. If you got more questions, definitely reach out to Randall. He is an open book. He's, as you can tell, a super down-to-earth guy. But do you have a book that's impacted your life in a significant way that you would suggest?
Yeah. So for self-storage, AJ Osborne, Building Wealth and Self-Storage. That was a great book, wealth of knowledge. You know, because he started off just like I'm starting off, right? He bought a smaller facility, lost money, but you know, if anybody knows anything about self-storage, AJ Osborne is a huge role model to all the self-storage facility owners. And then Who Not How, right?
Yeah,
That's another good book.
Yeah. Do you have any other ways to get in touch with you outside of Facebook, looking up Randall Broyles or Military First Facebook group? Any other platforms?
Yep. I'm in LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. You know, and I have my personal cell phone number is on my business page at, you know, Military First Self-Storage. So if you Google it, you got my direct contact number. If you want to, you know, pick up the phone call, ask questions. You know, I don't look at anybody in the real estate space as competitors. I look at them as business partners, right? Because I will help the next person, because I could probably call Chris right now and be like, hey man, I got this house. I'm getting ready to flip. It's my first flip, man. I need some guidance. Right. Yeah. And Chris would be happy to answer questions. Right. So that's what real estate is about. It's about helping the person next to you, you know, reach success.
And it's just like you said, you through your networking, you had somebody bring you a deal, and now you're in a deal that you wouldn't be in before because you'd have never known about the opportunity. And in the process, you're helping him experience and gain confidence in his first deal. So, man, real estate's just so powerful. I love it. It's really opened my eyes. And the majority of the people that are in these networking groups have the attitude that you have. And my mentor, Tim Bratz, says, you standing in sunshine doesn't take any sunshine away from me. And nope. That's really what it's about. Any closing words that you want to say before I end the broadcast, and be considerate of your time?
Hey, you know, one thing to put in perspective, right? Self-storage is recession proof, right? Let's put it in perspective, right? In every real estate market right now, it's really a seller's market. It's really hot. The prices have gone through the roof, and most of these people that are moving, you know, currently, that are currently moving out of state and into a new area are going downsizing. Remember, you know, it's easier to pay $112 to store 1,200 square foot than it is to buy a 3,600 square foot house right now. So it's recession proof.
That's interesting. One last question that you just prompted me with is, do you require all of your tenants to have a card on file?
I don't, just because I'm in a rural area and a lot of my tenants are on fixed income.
Yeah.
You know, that I had acquired from the previous owner. So I got one tenant, you know, she's living in assisted living. She just had a, you know, quadruple bypass heart attack. And she don't have a card on file, but You know, I work with them.
So you have
So.
some that'll just come and bring you cash.
Yep. I have a guy who's old school. I've got a Facebook video talking about mailbox money, and he literally drops it off in the mailbox on the 2nd every month.
Wow. Love it, man.
Yep.
Randall, I appreciate your time. Thank you for giving us the value. I know you've opened up some doors for others to be brave enough to take the step at this point. If you're listening to this on YouTube or LinkedIn, and you've got a Facebook page, then hop on over to our Bigger Vision Facebook group. We've got over 800 members at this point. It's a free group. We talk about mindset. We talk about business. We talk about investing. We do weekly lives. And we also have 2 in-person meetups. So the 2nd Thursday of the month and the 3rd Thursday of the month here locally at Tupelo, Mississippi, we do meet up so that we've got that in-person interaction. Although Zoom is wonderful, it's definitely nice when you can actually shake somebody's hand. And then if you listen to podcasts, check out my podcast, Bigger Vision. We drop content. I drop content there as well. So everybody, appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all live in success.